Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Hanan. I'm going to be facilitating today's session with Dr. Nathan. Dr. Nathan, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me. So over the next 45 minutes, hour, whatever it's going to be, I'm going to try to kind of inspire you and tell you the goods and the bads and all the fun stuff with dental school, dentistry, orthodontics, owning your own business, and a little bit about my journey because it's a little different than most. So yes, I'm Dr. Nathan Coughlin. I go by Dr. Nate, Dr. Nathan. And so let us begin. Okay, so I'm going to start by telling you my history because I think that is the most interesting part. I hope maybe it's not, but we'll see. So I am a Canadian born. I came here in 2005 or 6, one of those two. But this is the story. So I'm basically in undergrad, having a great time. I was playing basketball at the time for the first few years of college, and I was just loving life, having a great time. My dad is a physician. All my brothers and sisters have done lots of schooling, so everybody's kind of doing all this school, but I wasn't thinking about it too much. So my first, definitely first year, maybe the first 2 years, I would say I was like moderately concentrating on school. Then after I realized that, hey, I am probably not going to go to the NBA. I'm probably not going to make a living playing basketball. I decided I should shift things up a bit. But my path is absolutely not straight. So what happened was I thought I wanted to be a good kid, and probably some of you guys have heard this before, that you should go into medicine because medicine's the best. My dad is a physician. I thought, hey, this is a good idea. Let's just kind of follow that path. But in my head, the whole time, I knew that, it probably wasn't maybe the best thing for me. My dad is a radiologist. He does very well financially, but he is, working from 7 o'clock in the morning till maybe 6 or 7 at night. He'd come home for dinner, then go back to the hospital if he's on call. So sometimes he'll get called at, 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock, and he is in there all night, and he's doing this the next day. And even though it was a great, financial lifestyle, I thought that was tough. I don't think I can just live my whole life like that. So I was kind of going through it, but I was not smart enough to realize that that is what I should have done. I should have just kind of broken the path. So I took a full summer, which is one probably the dumbest decisions I've done, but full summer, and I studied the MCAT. And I studied the MCAT, studied, and I took the test, and I did okay. But nothing amazing. But it's funny because I knew it the moment I left the test. The moment I left the MCAT, I knew that was not for me. I just knew it in my heart. I was like, this is not for me. So then what is the next step? So I was like, hey, no, I don't think medicine's going to be good for me. I need to think something else. And I'm not one of those people like you guys probably are, because you're researching the subject, you're researching dentistry. I kind of just, look and look and look. And then once I find something I like, I just go for it. So I had one of my dad's friends was a dentist. I shadowed him for 3 hours. And then I realized that, hey, dentistry is pretty cool. It has what I want. It has the lifestyle I want. It's the 9 to 5. You can potentially be your own boss. It had all these good qualities that I was looking for in my career. So then I kind of shifted gear from medicine. Then I went, okay, cool. I'm not going to be in medicine. I think I want to do dental school. So I think in between my 3rd and 4th year, I was like, all right, I gotta rock this DAT. Let's start killing it. Actually, this is after my 4th year, because I did 5 years undergrad. So I'm like, okay, let's crush it. Let's do really well in this DAT. And I studied. I had a great science background. So I knew I was going to do well. And I take the test. And here's the difference. Here, you guys are probably, I'm assuming everybody's American that's probably watching this. In Canada, it may still be this, but it's slightly different. You have a couple different portions. You have this, portion where you have to measure all the angles and do all this crazy stuff. And I think there's an English portion, but there is a carving portion where you have a piece of soap, and it's about kind of yay bigish, by that tall. It's a cylinder, and you need to cut something out of it. So on the test, it's very specific. It'll say that maybe you need to go, 20 millimeters over, then go down 10 millimeters, and then over 10, and then up 10. And you carve these little squares, rectangles, triangles, all that funny stuff into the bar of soap. But I've been practicing. I went through 500 bars of soap because I knew dentistry was right for me. I knew I wanted to do it. And then after, so I'm in the test, and everybody's nervous. you get these bars of soap. And if you don't like the bar of soap, you give it back because you want that perfect bar of soap. It's really such a weird concept. But you take the bar of soap and I'm carving it. I'm like, oh, cool. It takes like half hour, 45 minutes to get done. You rocked it. I was like, yeah, that's amazing. And then after that portion, you get to go and chill out for 10 minutes and then you get the next section, the next section. And so I'm going outside and I'm talking to the people there. And because you just took the test, like every dimension, you're like, that was 12 millimeters and that was 10, that's 5. And I'm talking to the people there and some of them are my friends. And I'm like, oh, that was cool on that square. It was like 16 millimeters by 16 millimeters by 16. And they're like, no, dude, that wasn't a square. That was supposed to be 16 by 26 by 16. And I was like, oh shit, like I messed up. Like, this is bad. This is bad. And at that moment, like literally that moment, I knew that I was not going to get into dental school at what time I wanted to. But obviously I'm here now, so it goes through a journey. So I knew at that moment, I was like, oh, there it goes. I'm done for. So I took the rest of the test. The rest of the test went well, like a month or so, whatever, I get the results back. Everything went well. Carving portion sucked. So I was like, dang, man, what am I going to do? But I am not one to quit. I knew I could still get it. So I was like, okay, well, in Canada, it's different. I think in the States, you can take it like every week or every month. Like the States, you just take it until you get it right. Canada, not so much. Canada, there's only twice a year you could take it. So I took the test the first time. Everything else was kind of lined up good. My DAT was not lined up so good. So I had to take it again. Second time I take it, we're going into like January-ish at this point. And if you are applying for dental school, you know how late that is. This is already not looking good because most people are applying. They're probably getting into dental school in like August, September, October, November, maybe December. Then it really starts tapering out where less people are getting in. But I did not know that. I did not know that at the time. But I was like, whatever, I'm just going to rock out, do my best. Second time around, crushed it. DAT went really well. Everything was good. I'm like, hey, Canadian schools, can you accept me now? Like, I got my good DAT, my grades are good. I have all this extra stuff. And they're like, we're not taking your second DAT. We will only accept your first one. We'll accept the second one next year. Meanwhile, we're basically into March. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not good. But even though it was dark at that point, I was still thinking that, hey, I could figure this out. I can do something different. So I knew. I started looking around. I'm like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna go to the States. Maybe that is the place for me. I don't know. I'm born and raised in Canada. My friend's Canadian. I don't really have any ties to the States. But I thought, hey, why not? Let's try it out. So I looked and I knew that Boston University and USC in LA both accepted international students. I knew that there's a decent chance of me potentially getting in. Little did I know that probably by the time I applied and I actually got my interviews, I think I was like the very last interview class. I think I was like actually the very last one because I didn't apply. I think it's till late March and I wasn't getting an interview till like, a week or two after that, or like maybe even early April. I didn't know till later how late I was for the American schools. So I go there, go to Boston, go to USC, both went really well. And then I just had to kind of choose, between being cold in a beautiful city as Boston. I didn't want to be cold because I grew up in Canada. I wanted to get away from the cold. And I decided to go to LA. And the reason I kind of tell this story is because sometimes, you have like the worst parts of your life can end up being the best part of your life, because that moment, that like not even like 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds of my life changed everything forever. If I would have seen that number correctly, I would have likely done well in the first DAT. I would have likely gone to a Canadian school. I would have likely stayed there my whole life, with the similar friends and doing the same old thing. But because I messed up on that one number at the time, I thought it was like the worst possible thing that could have happened to me. And I was in a very dark place for a little while. That one thing changed my life for the absolute better. But because of that, I didn't go to Canadian schools. I went to USC, went there, did dental school, went to orthodontist school, met my wife, and now we're here in Dallas. So that one little time has changed everything. And the funny thing is, it was like a year or two before that, me and two friends did a little trip, a West Coast trip. So we're going down from Alberta, Canada, all the way down. We went through like Salt Lake, I think Vegas, San Diego, LA, up to Oregon, Washington, Vancouver, and kind of came back. And we loved it. We had a great time. We spent like 2-3 weeks just traveling. We had no money, so we're just like camping and just doing whatever we could to survive. But the one city we did not like, the one city we actually cut short, and I said that I would never go back, was LA. And how funny how that works out, that not much later, I was living in there, and I'd lived there for 7 years. So there's some crazy fates, fate is, there's always that saying that you make a plan and then God laughs. And that was definitely what happened. I made my plan. I was, everybody here is probably very type A. We have these certain plans we have in place. And then something happens, and then it matters, like, what are you going to do when that happens? Are you just going to go, crap, everything I planned for is done for, turn it in, I'm done, I'm just going to go work at McDonald's the rest of my life? Or are you going to say, hey, you know what, that sucks, that was really crappy, but what is going to be, like, how is it going to benefit me in the future? How am I going to get better from this? What is the next step, towards my goal? Because you're going to have a goal that's right here. You can see it right here, but then, and you're right here. And most people think like, oh, I'm just going to try hard and do good, and I'm just going to kind of go right here, and boom, my goals are going to be set and everything's going to be great. And that almost never happens. It's more like it's all over the place. So just because you have this goal in mind, you think it's going to be very straightforward, it's most likely not. So that is a little bit of my history. From that, I think we're going to go on in a second, but let's break it up for just a sec, because we'd like to have a good time with this. And this is one of the reasons I love dentistry, because you just goof around all the time. And this is on our TikTok page. So I think it's gonna be audio.
How you talk with Invisalign.
Hey, I'm Dr. Nate.
Versus how it feels like you sound.
Hey, I'm Dr. Reese.
So this is how you get to be dumb and goofy and whatever. And I think this is on Instagram, and it's funny, like the dumbest things. And you guys are probably on, this is actually on TikTok, I believe. So the crazy thing is, like, you can post these dumb things on TikTok, and some of them, like, this took me 2 seconds. I think this has like 250 or like 500,000 views or something. It's so ridiculous. TikTok's crazy. But anyway, I like that. I think that's just like a little easy intermission. But let's talk about some facts about orthodontics, because you guys are probably thinking maybe you're going to become dentists, maybe you're going to become orthodontists, oral surgeons, periodontists, whatever you're going to become. But let us talk about some facts. So, are all orthodontists dentists? And the answer, obviously, as you can see, is yes. So to get into orthodontics, you have to do this. Everybody basically does the same road. Unless you're coming internationally, everybody's pretty much doing the same road. First off is you do your undergrad, like hopefully a lot of you guys are doing right now. You suffer through undergrad, you scrape and claw and make your way out. You do the best you possibly can, because that is going to help you in the future. But you're an undergrad. From undergrad, you go into dental school. And I'm going to talk about dental school in a bit, because I think there's some very, very important distinguishments that you should make before you actually decide what school you want to go to, even before you want to choose dentistry. But yeah, you go through dental school, and then you scrape and claw your way through dental school, and then you go into orthodontics, or the orthodontic residency. Or if you go into periodontics, or if you go into oral surgery, if you go to pedodontics, you're going to go into something like that. But every orthodontist is a dentist. Are all orthodontists board certified? And the answer obviously is no. And this is interesting. I didn't know this, and I think this goes for most specialties when you're talking about medicine, when you're talking about pretty much everything, is that not everybody is board certified. So what is board certified? Board certified is a money-making machine. That is probably the one thing, but board certification, I'm not a huge fan of it, as you can tell, but I am actually board certified. But this is the idea, is you go through orthodontic residency, you made it, congratulations, you're an orthodontist. But everybody, because we're super type A, we want to be the best possible people we can ever be. We want to do more schooling because we are crazy. So what you do is you take, well, at this time, it's actually changed now, but at my time is you took 6 cases, I believe it's 6 cases, and it was your best cases. And I don't mean like pretty good. I mean, these are like impeccable, like absolutely perfect. Every tooth touches in the right place. Everything's lined up perfectly. Everything's great. The bite is great. Everything is perfect. And you take those 6 cases, and then you do write-ups with them. You do these like cephalometric things, all these different things, and a big, huge write-up. You talk to your faculty, make sure everything is perfect. And even if it's perfect, it still may not pass because they're so strict. But then you take those cases to St. Louis, is where the AAO is, And then you go through the screening process. At that time, I think we're in front of a couple of the members. We had to go through the cases, and I think we had to do another little thing after that. And then you become board certified. So it's just like an extra step you can do to make you seem more special. And as you probably see previously told, as I was mentioning this, do I think it's that important? No, I don't think it's that important. I probably maybe had like 2 or 3 people ever of the, probably I've definitely seen thousands. I don't know if it's tens of thousands by now, but it's a lot of patients. Out of those patients, maybe like literally 2 or 3 that have asked me if I'm board certified. And honestly, those patients are probably so intense, I don't even want to take them on anyway. So do I think it's super important? No. Is it good? Probably. I think there's a stat when I was looking at it last that, and this could be wrong at this point, but I think it was like maybe 60% of orthodontists are not board certified. Majority are not board certified, but some are. What they're trying to do now is they're trying to make this push to make more people board certified, just because they think it looks better and they can probably make more money and all that good stuff. So that is board certification. I think it goes the same thing for pretty much everything. And then lastly, can a dentist do braces? And the answer is obviously yes. And that's one thing I'm going to talk to you about in the future. Why become an orthodontist? All dentists can do braces. Like, what's the point? So that is some facts about orthodontics. Okay, how to become an orthodontist? So I kind of went over this already. So for me, it took me 12 years. No, I'm not slow. It's because the first 3 years of undergrad, I was playing basketball. So I didn't think I was going to become the NBA, but I just thought basketball was amazing. I loved playing it. So I was playing it for my first 3 years until I realized, hey, I'm not going to become an NBA all-star. So let's switch gears a little bit. So I did 5 years of undergrad, 4 years of dental, and 3 years of orthodontic residency. And I get this question sometimes too, is like, what is the quickest way to become an orthodontist or dentist or whatever it is? And there are programs that are shorter than others. So most people, the vast majority, I would say 90% do, if they're an orthodontist, they do 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of dental, and 3 years of ortho. Very standard. There are a few, and I have a couple of friends that are like this. They did the UOP, University of the Pacific, kind of quicker program. I think it was 7 years total. Don't quote me on this, but I think so, to get your dental degree. So from undergrad to dental degree is 7 years. And then they did 3 years of, it might even be less than that. And then 3 years of ortho. So they came out and they're like 28, 29, and they're orthodontists, which is kind of crazy because a couple of people I knew finished early. So they're really young when they became orthodontists, which is unbelievable to me. But in general, I'd say 4.43 is pretty standard. All right, so where I've worked, a quick history of the companies I've been with. So I graduated ortho in 2013. I graduated dental 2010, but ortho in 2013. And I want to talk to you about graduation and how that point in my life kind of switched everything. When I knew I wanted to do orthodontics, I honestly, and you guys may be feeling this way, trying to get into dental school, I honestly didn't think it was possible. Like I had this belief that, which is like a horrible limiting belief, and hopefully you guys don't feel this way, that I was not smart enough to become an orthodontist. You may be thinking you're not smart enough to become a dentist or whatever you want to pursue. And that is basically a terrible, terrible belief that you have in yourself. And I hope I can smash that, because you have to believe in yourself, because very few other people will. But as I got into dental school, I just saw, it's hard. Like high school is good. There's some smart people, and then all those smart people go to college. Of those college, more of those people that want to do more things that are the smartest of those college people are going to dental school. And then the tip of the top are going into residency. So you have to think at that point, like it's hard. It's not only hard, like mentally, like it's really hard, just to learn all that stuff. It's hard financially because you have more debt. It could be hard on your family. Everybody has different situations. Maybe you just want to start working. It was just really, really hard. But it wasn't until my second year, there's this test they don't really take, well, they take now, but it doesn't matter as much. It's called the Boards Part 1 test. And I did really well on that test. And I knew at that point that because I did really well on that, I was able to get into ortho. So it was like a shift there that I was able to. And I did really well. I had all these extracurriculars. So basically I didn't have to pick of any school I went to, but I applied to like 10 schools and everybody gave me interviews. And I think I probably could have gotten into majority of those schools. But because I had met my girlfriend in the second or third year of dental school, I did not want to leave her. I knew that we were going to get married. I just had the connection. And so I didn't want to then basically leave USC and then go to some other school and then be apart for X amount of years or try to figure it out. This wasn't a part of the plan. So there are those moments, like I mentioned before, when I messed up on that little bar of soap. There was a moment that changed my life, another moment that changed my life forever. And that was in between the second and third year. My roommate and I, we decided that we didn't want to live in the hood anymore. So we spent a couple more bucks to live in downtown, which still is not that great, but it's a big step up from where we were. And we're moving in. And on the exact day, the exact time, the exact elevator that we were moving into, my now wife was moving in at the same time. So I saw her around, but I was too shy. I didn't really talk to her. Just maybe kind of a pass and said something. But because we're moving in, we're like sharing elevators, and she had moving people and I was moving, and we're just trying to figure out how to like logistically get it. We started talking a ton, and that is how we hit it off. Like that was how we hit it off. Because of that, I ended up Facebook messaging her, which probably nobody does anymore, but Facebook messaged her. We kind of got together, started dating, and honestly, since then, it was great. Obviously, we've had our ups and downs, but it's been amazing. So those little times, you don't know when those amazing times are going to happen in your life. And that's why it's important to be open to anything. And that's going to relate to where I'm working, because I'm going to talk to you about that. So from orthodontics, from graduation, we basically picked up and left California. California is a gorgeous state, beautiful city. It's just competitive, super competitive. If you're on the West Coast or East Coast, you know that it's ultra competitive. Not saying you can't make it, because there are people who are on both coasts that crush it still, but it's more difficult. It's tougher. She had a dad who was working, he's a dentist in California, and he was basically like, you guys got to get out of here. This is too tough. So we took the hint, went over to Dallas and worked at corporate dentistry. And people ask me this a lot. This is probably like one of the more asked questions is, what should I do after school? Should I go and try to partner up with somebody? Should I try to figure out, where to work? Should I work with corporate? Should I do my own thing? What should I do? And I am a believer that corporate dentistry is good for a little while, not for very long, but a very, very short while, because you hone your skills. Honestly, you're seeing a huge amount of patients. You're seeing how their services and how they work. There's a reason that they're corporate, and there's a reason that the one I worked for had like 400 offices, throughout Western states. They have amazing systems in place that make them successful. A lot of mom and pop dentists do not have that, and that is why they're not successful, and that is why they are stressed. And that was one thing that I was looking at when I was looking at dental school. I told my parents, hey, I'm not going to go to medicine. I still remember this dinner. I told them, hey, I'm not going to do medicine like my dad was doing. I'm going to do dentistry. And that's probably one thing you guys are coming across. Everybody's going, oh, medicine's so amazing. Dentistry, they have like the highest suicide rates. And the reason, I don't know how true that is, but the reason it's very stressful is because if you do your own thing, you're your own boss. And if you don't know how to run systems, if you don't know how to run a business, it is an issue. Like, it gets very stressful. Money is absolutely not everything. But if you do not have money and your business is not going good, everything is stressful. Everything is stressful. If your money situation is good, business is going good, you will still have stress, but it won't be as stressful because money in business can cure a lot of things. Something breaks down, pay for it. Staff wants a raise, pay for it. If you have no money, something breaks down, what are you going to do? Staff wants a raise, they leave. It's really, really stressful. So if you don't run a proper business, you don't know how to run a proper business, then you're in trouble. And that's why I think corporate dentistry can be great. I worked with one company. I worked at like 3 or 4 offices. Another company, we were just growing company in the ortho program. So I worked at probably 20 offices. So I got to see like probably in between 25 to 30 offices, how they run, what the staff thought of it, what were their systems they had in place, what type of operating systems were they using, what type of software were they using, like why was one office successful and the other office not that successful. There's a ton of stuff that you learn in after dental school that you just can't learn in dental school. So I did that. I want to be mindful of time. So we did that for a couple years. And then I realized I have a very small base knowledge that I can work with, and it's time to do my own thing. I knew I wasn't going to be in corporate dentistry for long, but I knew I need to learn that stuff. So I basically forced my wife to open a practice with me because she did not want to do it. She did not want the worry of opening her own practice, but we opened our first one in 2015. You're going to have some moments that are super scary. Getting into dental school, maybe getting into orthodontic residency, all these type of things are super scary. Probably one of the most scary things ever is opening your own office. When you're going through school, it's very planned. Like, you finish high school, it's very planned. Okay, I got to go to college now. I got to do these courses. I got to do these good in these courses. And then once you do that good, cool, I get into dental school and I'm in dental school. I got my first year, I got to do labs, I got blah, blah. Once you've done that, okay, I'm in corporate dentistry, I go to corporate, I work, I get my money, blah, blah, blah. Once you stop that and you go, oh, now I'm going to open my own business, nothing is secure. Your security is like nothing. Yeah, you may be able to work some other jobs to maintain a quality of living, hopefully, but nothing is secure. You could potentially open up this office, and this happens. You open up an office and it does not go well, and you're struggling to make your bills, or you can't make your bills and you close down. Dental offices close down. They do in general pretty well, but they close down. So it is stressful. I remember days, especially at Breckenridge, our first office, literally like staring at the wall, being like, oh my gosh, did I make the right decision? Because it was so stressful. It was really, really hard. Luckily, my wife is the exact opposite. She's like, everything's gonna be cool, everything's gonna work out. And so that was a great kind of back and forth with us. But it was very, very intense. But luckily, Breckenridge took off pretty quick. And probably within the first 8 to 12 months, we started looking for another office, because I knew in my heart that I was not going to ever just have one office. I was going to have multiple. That's always been my goal since basically getting into dental school. I know that's what I was going to do. So we started looking for another office, and we partnered with a friend, and the name of the office is Oak Brook Dental. Partnered with a friend. He is an amazing dentist. He crushes it at that office. But there's a new stress, because I knew that, hey, we did it pretty well with Breckenridge. Can we replicate that? And now if we don't do well, I'm like, hey, we still have Breckenridge, it's making income, we're cool, we're good. But if Oak Brook doesn't go well, like, I feel bad for my friend, because I told him I kind of know what I'm doing, but what if it doesn't go good? And that was a crazy stress as well. But then luckily that ended up going well. So from Oak Brook, we went and we decided that we wanted to really have a brand. We didn't want to just have a bunch of different offices. We wanted a brand. And so we decided to open an office called Thrive Dental. And this is just that comes from Christine and I. We just really believe in thriving. We think that it's not cool to just like chill out and kind of barely make it through. We want you to crush it. We want to have an amazing life. We want to give more. We want to be more. We want to have more offices. We want to have a great family. We want to have great relationships. We just want to do everything, big and great. And that was just a part of our mission. So we opened Thrive in Frisco. That's here in Dallas, Texas area. Then we opened one now in Allen, another in Saxe. Then I opened another office with some other friends in Dallas. We're looking for another office. So we have kind of opened up pretty quickly, but by no means was it super straightforward. We had tons of up and downs. We opened 2 offices during coronavirus time, which is not how we planned it. Kind of crazy, but it ended up working out. So it's definitely not very straightforward, but it's been super rewarding, and we're going to keep going. Okay, this is what I do. This is a TikTok. This is what I do in, let's see, in 1 minute or less.
Hey guys, Dr. Nate, I wanted to show you what an orthodontic adjustment is like. This is your typical adjustment. This is what you're going to do whenever you come in for your 6-week adjustment. This one, we've already taken off the top colors. We're going to take off the bottom colors as well. And in this particular example, we're going to give her new wires. You don't always get new wires every single time you come in, but in this particular case, you do. Why don't we give you new wires every single time? Because we only have a handful of wires, and you're going to have probably 10, 15, 20 visits. You're not going to get a new wire every single time, but you will get new colors. In this case, you get new colors. This is just single ties. Sometimes you can get power chains, sometimes you can get springs, sometimes we're going to give you rubber bands, all sorts of fun stuff. But the visits are this quick and that easy. This visit took maybe 5 minutes. Yes, it was me doing it, so it's a little bit quicker. This is like double time, But that is it. This is an orthodontic adjustment. So there's nothing to fear at your 6-week adjustment. This is how easy it is.
All right. I just realized this right now that I'm wearing the same shirt that I was wearing in that video, but I swear I've washed it since then. But anyway, that's a quick little kind of demo. That's called the orthodontic adjustment. That's when we change our colors. That is basically the majority of what we do. All right. So how do you get in? How do you get the future that you want? Okay. So I think a lot of you guys have probably heard this before. You know how important this stuff is. Best grades. You want to get good grades. I don't think the exact courses matter. And the reason I say that is because beside me, when I was in dental school, there was somebody who actually both beside me was dental hygienists who ended up going into dental school. They were just very average students as far as grades go. And probably beside me before that was somebody who's very average. But we're all good. We're not like the top, but we're all good. Try to crush the DAT. That's pretty obvious. The better you're doing that, easier it is to get in. Same thing with me. I had okay grades, pretty good, and pretty good DAT scores, but I wasn't like the top 1%. Actually, I ended up flourishing, to be honest, in dental school because I was so passionate about it. Extracurriculars, I think this is very important. You do not want to be one of those people who just crushes it at school and crushes the DAT and honestly doesn't do anything else, because what they're looking for is somebody that they can relate with, they can hang out with, that is probably going to end up like donating back to the school, all these interesting things when they're looking for a candidate. And the reason I know this is because I've been on both sides. Obviously, when I got into dental school, got into orthodontics, I kind of went through the whole process, started talking to people, trying to understand how they got in, how the other process works. But when I got into orthodontic residency, it was different. After the first year, you get in, the next incoming classes, you get behind the scenes and you get to see how our staff picks who they want to be let in. And what happened was, and what I was interested is grades got you the interview. Grades will get you the interview. But then the ability to socialize, the ability to hang out with people, just to be like a cool person, that is what gets you in. You can have the best grades, but be totally like antisocial and just like be mean to people and you won't get in. But if you have, pretty good grades, you get that interview and you're a cool person, you have all these extracurriculars, you're relatable, you're going to get in. So I think being well-rounded, volunteer, play sports, join clubs, learn music, all sorts of cool stuff just to make it so you're more well-rounded. Probably don't be like, hey, I crush in school and I play video games the rest of the time. I mean, maybe if you get somebody who is big into video games, you can relate to them, but you probably want to have something a little bit more well-rounded. And the third thing that I honestly keep learning day after day after day. I knew in dental school and orthodontic residency, this is important, but who you know is super important. I know I definitely know multiple people who got into ortho at USC, which is a tough school to get into, who did not have great grades. They just didn't have great grades, but they knew the right person. They were super social, they're on the right programs, they had the right ins, and they got in. So who you know is just everything. And it goes for the rest of your life. Everything, like almost everything is, how I've opened up dental practices. It wasn't because I was like super smart and I know like all these things that nobody else knows. It's because, I have this ability, I'm trying to learn all the time, but then I have great social life. I enjoy being around people. I enjoy interacting with people and they know that I want to grow. So they're like, okay, Nathan wants to grow. He wants to do more offices. He's going to maybe we should partner with him. It's just being out there and having your name out there and who you know is just absolutely vital. All right. How do you pay for school? So I want to make sure I'm going to get through everything. I think we'll have time, but how do you pay for school? There's basically two main ways. Well, three, I guess. You can have family help you out, or you kind of support yourself a little bit. Maybe you won the lottery, I don't know. But probably the two main ways are private loans and federal loans. Private loans probably won't get fully funded. You can't get the whole thing. Federal loans kind of pick up the slack. And this is probably controversial. I don't know what you guys think about this, but this is potentially one of the reasons why school is so expensive, is because federal loans. These private loans, these private banks won't lend you the majority of the money if you're going to the expensive schools like USC or NYU or some of these expensive schools. The private loans won't lend you the full amount because they know it is so much money. They don't want to, be liable for that. And federal loans just pick up the slack. So some of the thought process is if federal loans didn't just pick up the whole slack, And a lot of people literally could not afford to go to school, so they would have to lower the tuition because these schools are insane money makers, and they can lower tuition and they would be fine because they have this bonkers endowment funds that will last them forever. That's a totally different story, so I won't go into that too much, but that's something else. So the other way you can pay for it once you're done, because you can have these crazy loans, you can do a couple ways. And I'm sure by the time you guys get out, there will be some different programs for this. There'll be IBR, that's like an income-based repayment. There's repayee, there's payee, there's a bunch of different ones. And the basic idea is you have X amount of time to pay off your loan. So with one of them, it's 20 years. You have a 20-year loan, and they basically just take 10 to 15% off of whatever you make. So if you make 100,000 that year, they're going to take 10,000 or 15,000. 200, it's going to make 30,000. So those are different programs you can use to help repay back your loan. The interesting thing is everything is so new that at the end of this, the IBR, repayee, they say that loan at the end of the 20 years is forgiven. Yay, it's forgiven. But likely you may have to pay taxes on what is forgiven, but it's still up in the air because not a lot of the stuff hasn't fully gone through yet. So we don't really know what's going to happen. But at the end of the 20 years, say your loan now is ballooned to $1 million, because when you're going through it, you're probably not paying the whole thing. So the principal actually gains. So if they forgive you $1 million, you have to now pay taxes on that $1 million. That means you're going to have to fork over like 300,000 or 350 or whatever it's going to be in order to pay for the taxes alone on that forgiveness. So there's always some tricks that you have to watch out for. And I'm sure as you're going through this, you're going to figure it out. I'm sure the schools are going to show you, but you just have to keep that in mind when you're taking out loans for school. Okay, let's talk about money. So if we're talking about loans, let's talk about money. So how much money do orthodontists and dentists make? And this is such a tough question because it varies all over the place, but I have a YouTube video on this and it's kind of weird for me to talk about it, but it is important to talk about because it's, it's a part of the whole process. There is people, and you have to keep this in mind when you're choosing to figure out what school you want to go to. There are people who leave dental school and leave their residency with $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 of loans. I know it is crazy. It is hard to work your way out of $1 million and $900,000 of loans unless you're just crushing it, which people do. It still happens, but you're probably going to need to make more than $100,000 a year if you have $900,000 in loans. But an average ortho makes anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000. Average dentist makes anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000. And of course, there's going to be a huge range. Why is there a huge range? Because it depends on where you live. Certain areas, you're going to make more money. Depends on how much you make. Depending on how much you negotiated of what you're going to make. Depends if you have your own office. Depends if you're just starting your office, taking over your own office. There's so many variables. I know people that make 10 times this amount. I also know people that make less than this. So it's really tough to sell. It's like almost asking a business person, how much do you make in business? It's like, there's a huge variety, but these are averages that you can rely upon because they're pretty average. And the one thing is I wish I took more business classes when I was in dental school, because the better you know your business, the more you're going to make. And I mentioned this before, if financially your business is not doing well, everything is stressful. Everything is stressful if your business is not doing well. If your business is doing well, you can still have stresses and strains, but it won't be as crazy because you can pay for a lot of those. If the staff wants to go, you pay them more. If equipment's down, you pay for that. There's something that needs to be fixed, you pay for that. So knowing your business, vitally important. Oh, here we go. This is how braces work in like a minute or less. So this will be a little quick.
Hey guys, Dr. Nate here, and I'm going to explain braces in 1 minute or less. Let's go. Colors are the things that go on the braces. They keep the wire in place. That is a math-out plier that allows us to put the colors actually in place. And then we have this little explorer device. That is how we take the colors off. You have two types of wires. The first wire that they're showing here is a nickel titanium wire. That is when you can flex, 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 and always goes back to the same shape. The first thing we do with braces is we work on the tips and the rotations to make sure everything's nice and straight. The second thing we do is we work on the torques, the back and forth of the teeth. That is the different stages of braces. So remember, you have two types of wires. You have the nickel titanium wires. Those are the ones that are super, super flexible. Then you have the next set, and that is a stainless steel wire. So if you bend it, it actually stays in place. And this is what we use to finish. So you can see here in just a second, we're going to bend the wire, boom, it stays in place. It is what we use to finish your teeth off with. And then the last thing, this is power chains. Power chains are used to close spaces. And there you go. That is it. That is braces explained in a minute.
All right, so you guys are basically orthodontists now, because now I know how braces work. You know what we do every day. So we're getting closer to the end here. So should you become an orthodontist? I was going to ask you guys, as Danielle and I was going to ask you guys these questions, but basically I'm going too long, I'm talking too much, so I won't ask you guys these questions. But should you become an orthodontist? There's a ton of competition. You know, there's tons of competition for dentists, orthodontists, everything. Huge companies, I mean like billion-dollar companies, are trying to do direct-to-consumer marketing or direct-to-consumer products. Smile Direct Club, Candid. There's a bunch of companies that are going to try to go directly to the consumer. Huge student debt. People are walking out of these schools with almost $1 million in debt. That is bonkers. You have to see a ton of patients. In ortho, I see 40 to 60. Some offices, I was seeing 80, 90, 100. You see a ton of patients. You may not be your own boss, like was mentioned before. You're going to be probably in corporate for a little bit, and you know, you might be working with people you don't like, staff you don't like, and seeing patients you don't like. Is it worth it? I'm pretty sure you guys know the answer, because hell yes, you should. Orthodontics, dentistry is an absolutely amazing field. I think it is the best. I can't imagine myself doing anything different. You have so much of a variety in what you can do. Your lifestyle is amazing. Like I mentioned before, I didn't want to become a medical doctor because you can be on call, super stressful. Like, it's just, you're dealing with life and death. Nothing is life and death in orthodontics. You move a tooth, it doesn't go how you want to move, you move it again. It's not a big deal. So amazing lifestyle. Most of the time it's 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. You can run your own business. You can be a small business owner or try to do multiple businesses. You can change people's lives. And this is something that we forget sometimes. You become so kind of used to it that you forget it. But it is amazing. And I have to think about this myself. I just have to take a moment when I'm doing it. But you can change, you're changing people's lives. Like for me, when I got braces, it changed my life. I went from being, you know, just sort of not quite as confident to being confident. And honestly, that was what made me meet my wife, because it changed my life. I was more confident, I smiled more. I see tons of people who, when they smile, they kind of smile like this, they smile like this, you know, trying to hide their teeth. And that's like so sad for me. So when you see a patient, you put on their braces, and the kid or the mom or whoever is going crazy, super excited because they got their braces on, or when they get them off and they're like, you know, basically crying, we're changing people's lives with their smile. Yeah, we're not operating on them. We're not doing hard surgery. We're not doing, you know, crazy stuff like that, but we're absolutely changing people's lives. And that is something that, yeah, it's really, really special. And that's something we have to kind of remind ourselves all the time. The thing I love too is we get to be our own boss. We get to create a brand. And obviously we're creating our Thrive brand here, and that's what we're going to continue to do in the future. And we love doing it. So much fulfillment from doing this. I just absolutely love it. I think this is the last one. You get to be a goof too, because there's like people working in the background, but you get to be a goof. You can just kind of goof around. See, orthodontics and dentistry is not that, doesn't have to be that crazy. It doesn't have to be that stressful. It can be really fun. All right, guys, just to finish off, I know we're probably going to slightly long. I'm going to bust through these cases. Unfortunately, these are taking a little while back. The quality is not the best in the world, but these are just ones I kind of found quickly. This is a lovely lady. She is what we call class 3. So she has an underbite, and her facial profile looks not too bad. We call it mid-face deficient a little bit, where her top teeth are kind of backwards. Presented her the option of potentially surgery. She said, hell no, I'm not doing surgery. So we have to figure out a different option. Midlines are off. This is the middle of her top versus the middle of the bottom. So it's basically, it's to her heart and to the side. So we have to figure it out. So what we did is we put some braces on her, asked her to wear rubber bands, prayed and hoped, and it turned out great. Her midlines are on, bite's great, everything turned out really good. Face looks great. She is ecstatic, super happy. There's some things that I see that maybe she doesn't care about, but the top teeth have to be flared in order to fully get a good bite, because the top teeth are behind the lower teeth. So you basically have to flare these guys out so that your bite can be nice and pretty. That's the only way you can really do it without surgery, or you're going to be bringing back these lower teeth. The next case, this is an awesome guy. He has an open bite. He saw another orthodontist. The orthodontist was basically like, if we try to close this bite, you're going to lose all your teeth. So he came to me freaking out. We had a great relationship, and he basically ended up trusting me. I'm like, you're not going to lose your teeth. We're going to go slow. We'll figure it out. Should be okay. He already has a little bit of recession. Bone was good. Everything else is looking pretty good. That's why I thought, okay, I think we can do this. This could be another surgery case, though. It's an open bite. Open bites, if you ask other orthodontists, super tough. So this could have been another surgery. Fortunately, this next picture is not great. He has like staining everywhere. But the idea is his bite ended up closing up. This picture is taken from too far below. So when you look at him straight on, his bite looks really good. You can see he always wants to tilt his head backwards. It's weird. When you try to take pictures of people, everything goes crazy. But I actually did, this is like from a long time ago. It's like 5-6 years ago or something. But I just saw him like a week or two ago because he's at the office and he was there. Bite looks amazing. He's super happy. It's a great case. The last case before I got a couple questions is, normally I would ask you what is missing. I will give you like 4 seconds to figure out there's something missing on this girl, and that's why everything looks crazy. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Okay, so she is asymmetric. There's a tooth, actually there's teeth missing on one side and the other. So there's 1 premolar on this side, but 2 premolars on this side. 1 premolar on this side, 2 premolars on this side. So everything was kind of all wonky. It's hard to see in this picture, but her midline was all off. Everything's all crazy. She was going to get married, so we need to do this. I think it's like in 18 months. It was really quick. She's an awesome patient, but we need to make things symmetrical. So we had to basically do the same thing on this side that we did on, or that they previously did on this side. So we had to take out a tooth on this tooth right here, and then this tooth right here to make things symmetrical. She ended up, results are great. She's super excited, super happy. The awesome thing with her, and it's funny how you can remember these cases, but the great thing with her is that she was getting married. Like, we had to like rush it. I can't remember where she's getting married, but she was getting married very quickly, and we had to rush it, and we got it done. She was so happy. She got the braces off. She got cleaning. She got whitening done the same day. Had like, I think her wedding pictures like the next day or the day after that, and she's ecstatic. And of course, I'm sure she referred like 1,000 patients to us because she's so happy. So guys, I always think of this. I think this quote, sometimes we say, why live an ordinary life when you can live an extraordinary life? So don't stop at, if you have one issue, don't just kind of stop, just keep on going, keep that goal in the end of your mind, just make sure that you keep reaching out for it, and eventually it's going to happen, guys. So that is it. If you want to interact with me, I am on social. You can see all the QR codes here, and that is it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nathan. That was an amazing session, and I really loved how diverse it was in terms of the topics that you spoke about, in terms of like whether it's how you pay or like how you get in and what you do after. So let's dive straight into our Q&A session. And the first question is, aside from medicine or dentistry, what else would you imagine yourself doing? So we know the whole idea about medicine, but could you imagine yourself doing something else other than dentistry?
The only thing, so I honestly can't imagine myself doing medicine. So my brother is a family physician. My dad's a radiologist. So I can't really imagine myself doing that. I think pharmacy is like beyond boring. So I never do anything like that. I honestly, dentistry is probably the only thing for me in the like health field. I can imagine myself doing some other business related venture, like, health related, like fitness studios or something along those lines, because I love health and fitness. I'm really passionate about that as well. And that can give me kind of like that excitement and the business aspect. I just really enjoy all the business part of it. So being anything else in the actual yeah, in the actual health field, probably not as much, but something in maybe like in like, the medicine pharmacy, but maybe something like the health, like physical therapy or something like that.
Got it. And our second question is, who is a figure that you look up to and that inspires you?
Oh, this is a great question. So yeah, I think that in life, it's really important to have mentors. And I think this is not something that I'm coming up with. This is what a lot of people would say. Most people believe that they are the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. So if you spend time with all people who are playing video games, you're probably going to be a video gamer. If you're spending time with all these 5 people who are, going to the gym and working out, and you're probably going to be a workout person. If you're spending time with people who are super smart and always in school and doing well in school, you're probably going to do that. So I think having amazing friends is really important. But having amazing mentors is something that is, I think, even better, but way harder to find. So it's really hard to find people that you can kind of constantly communicate with, that you think are that next level. And they don't need to be like forever, like super far away, but they need to be a next level above you. So for me, I've been searching for that a lot. I've done a lot of self-development, like seminars and stuff like that. So one of the people that I am very intimately in communication with now is somebody called Luke Wren. As probably somebody you guys haven't heard of. He's in the kind of self-development sphere. And I'm in one of his masterminds. The mastermind is just, there's a small group of us, like 20, 25 people, and we communicate like twice a week. So we're always talking, and it just keeps you on track, because I don't want to sugarcoat how hard dental school and owning and orthodontics and life is. Life is hard. There's like, anybody who comes up here and tells you that, hey, this is all groovy, like everything's chill, like you're just gonna, that's a lie. It's BS. Like it is tough. You need support network around you, whether it's family, it's friends, it's mentors, to help guide you. But he is somebody who can like whoop my ass if I'm not doing good. No, he will tell me like, you got to act in line, you have to think positive, you have to be this, but then also, think of, you have to be sensitive and loving and be at one with your emotions too, because you can't just always be like, oh, I'm going to crush it, I'm just going to do this and blah, 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 because that won't get you far either. You need to be sensitive to how you feel and how to work through things. And that takes some help. And I'd say in my younger days, I was like, whatever, let's crush it, I don't care. But now, I think it's more important to be like emotionally aware. It helps you with friendships, helps you with life, helps you with business, helps you with staff, helps you with your wife, helps you with your partner, helps you whatever. Those things are important. But Luke Wren is somebody that is kind of my mentor right now.
So branching off of how difficult dental school can be, what was the in your opinion, what was the toughest part about dental school? And especially the idea of transitioning from undergrad to something more rigorous?
That's a great question. What was the hardest thing of undergrad? Okay, of dental school. This is gonna be different. It may change by the time you guys graduate, but I also don't want to sugarcoat. I was always a pretty good student. Like I was, some people get school better. I was a good test taker, so I was lucky in that regards. I did not, and I'm going to be probably a minority, but I did not think dental school was that hard, which is, most people won't say that, but I went to USC at a time when they were transitioning between didactic and more like a PBL, they call it learning. So the courses were not that hard. Our curriculum where we're drilling on mannequins and stuff was not, it was not easy, but it wasn't that hard. So I didn't find dental school itself like super hard. The hardest thing though, I found in dental school / after is REBS. So here's a little story. So REBS is something that you take when you're done with dental school. You can't just graduate dental school and then become a dentist. You need to take a state exam or regional exam or something, pass that, and then become a dentist. Everybody has to do that. I did not fail, I don't think, a single test in dental school. I don't think a single one, whether it's on patients, whether it's on mannequins, whether it's written, whatever. I don't think I failed a single one. I think I was on honor roll almost every semester. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that to to back this situation up a little bit. So then we get to Rebs, and you have to find these like perfect patients, and people are paying for patients. It is such a messed up system. I don't want to go into that, but it's a very messed up system. And you have to pay patients, you have to do all these crazy things in order to get them in. And I took my patient back. I'm doing this class 2 filling, which is a filling in between the teeth. I start doing it and everything's going great. But if the filling's too big, you have to ask for an extension. So I said, cool, I'm at my ideal width. I need to ask for an extension. Go, and I ask. I knew it's because of decalcification. It's not necessarily caries, it's decalcification, which is something different, but I didn't think it mattered. So I send them, they have to go up and they have to go somewhere else to make sure it's all good. Then it comes back, and if they come back with a red slip, you know it's bad. So he came back with a red slip, and I was like, what the hell? And he comes back, and then they basically say, yeah, you can extend your prep, but it's not because of cavities or caries, it's because of decalcification. And I was like, I knew that, but like I didn't think it really mattered. But that dings you like 0.3 or 0.2, which doesn't seem a lot, but at that point the Rebs were out of 4. I believe it's out of 4, and I could be getting these numbers slightly off, but it's a very, very small amount. So do the rest of the test, everything goes good, everything's fine, boom, done. Get my results back, and I'm at the San Diego Zoo with a bunch of friends. I thought everything is no big deal. You get an email, I get the email, and it's like, you failed. I was like, what the hell happened? And it turns out that I needed like a 2 or something to pass, and I had like a 1.9, and that asking for that extension actually made me fail that test, that part. I was so pissed. I was so mad. So that was the most stressful part. I had to retake the test. You have to pay more money. The Rebs is, yeah, I'm sure other people are going to tell you it's very, very expensive, very money-making machine, which doesn't make a lot of sense to most people. And it's kind of, yeah, it's not the best, but yeah, that was probably the most stressful part of dental school.
Awesome. So we will go ahead and take just one more question and then wrap it up. So our last question is, if you could change something about the practice of dentistry, what would it be?
Man, if I could change something about the practice of dentistry, what would it be? These are good questions. I've had a lot of questions asked me. I haven't had this one before. If I could change it, what would it be? Man, that is great. Oh, this is what I would change. Okay. So the hardest part, okay, in dentistry, we have, one office, we have, I don't know, like, I don't even know, 10 to 15 staff or something like that. Of those staff, of the front staff, probably half of them are front staff. Say 7 of them are front staff. Of the front 7, at least half, probably more than half, are working with insurances. And that means calling insurance, that means verifying insurance, that means asking about claims, that means looking at an explanation of benefits, means all these things. So the insurance system is just bonkers. Like, it is so bad, and it's so easy to make it better, but they make it bad just so that insurance companies don't have to pay more. There's all these things that they could do to make it way more efficient, but they purposely do not do that so that you waste time and hopefully just don't do it. And then there's all these issues with insurance, and they hope that you just give up. So absolutely the hardest, worst part, I'm sure if you talk to most dentists and orthodontists, they're going to tell you this, that the worst part of dentistry is dealing with insurances. And that is why some people just decide to do fee for service or some variation of that to try to avoid it. But insurances, it's going to be in your life one way or another. So if there's a way to make it better, more efficient, that would be best. So that is, to me, by far the hardest part and worst part of dentistry.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Nathan, for joining us today. We're so happy and proud to have you live on Fresh Dental Shadowing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you guys during our next virtual session. You guys have a great